it, just watch.
We're back on the Morning Brew with Friends with Ray and Claire, and you guys are in from the Holocaust Intolerance Museum of New Mexico.
Yes.
And there's some big stuff going on this weekend.
Yes, there is. Sunday, we are honoring the Holocaust Yom HaShoah, which is the Remembrance Day for victims of the Holocaust.
And both of you have been working hard on some art projects to basically honor those people,
Yes.
right? And you brought an abacus, you said it was your grandfather's.
Yes.
And it also works into your art.
Yes, it does.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
I'm a printmaker. Unfortunately, my prints didn't show up, but I will have a series of prints based on the memoirs of my grandfather, who wrote, he was born in 1872 in the Ukraine, and he wrote firsthand experience with pogroms, with anti-Semitism, with fleeing Russia, going to Vienna, and of course with the rise of Hitler eventually coming to the United States.
Those must be some amazing things to read.
Yes, it is.
And then, so how does the abacus fit in, and how does it
Okay.
relate to your work?
Well, the abacus is something that I grew up with in my parents' house. My parents are also immigrants. I'm first-generation American.
Where did they come here from?
Well, my dad was born in Odessa. My mother was born in Budapest.
And not Odessa, Texas.
Not Odessa, Texas. No, not Odessa, Texas. And like so many people I grew up with, we were all children of refugees.
Mm-hmm. And so and your work is going to be shown at the museum also this weekend?
Yes, I'm a 2D person and do a series of layered prints using different techniques, some based on photos, some not. And it's basically, we carry our family with us. So even though my grandparents never came to New Mexico, they show up in New Mexico.
That's awesome. And you're a 3D person.
Basically, yes.
Yeah, we do have a few photos of your art.
Yes.
And these are interesting. They're sculptures, and these are also in the museum this weekend,
Yes,
right?
it's an installation.
And tell us what these are. I think, and you made them with clay?
Yes, they're clay bones. They're
Okay.
leg bones. And they form characters that tell the story of the people from my family, as well as people who may have influenced me in my life, who I never got to meet and I never got to know because they perished in the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
So it's structured as a play, and so it has sort of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it's really meant to be an experience that you kind of meander through a little bit, although at the
Take some
Holocaust
time
Museum, yes, our space is a little tight where
Right.
we are now. But the museum has really become, in the last years, we're kind of re-looking at how we tell the story of the Holocaust and intolerance.
The museum has been growing, and
Yes.
I've walked by it several times lately, and I've noticed there's been changes of the style of how the exhibits are put up. These used to be kind of old school style museum, posters on the wall and photos, and now it's gotten a lot more interactive, and
Yes.
it's a lot more fun to go check it out.
Yes, and we are at 616 Central Avenue Southwest, and we welcome tours of people that come. We welcome the individual coming in. And we also do a lot of outreach into the community, especially into the schools.
Very cool. Well, both of you have been artists for a long, long time. I know you've had work in New York, and is all of your work, does it speak to this, or is it broader?
This is the first time, actually, that I've ever done anything like this.
Oh, really? What was that like then? To dive into that and
It's been
'Cause there's
emotionally intense, grueling, and also very joyous in a way, because I didn't know my grandfather. He died 11 years before I was born, and quite honestly, it made me deal with the reality of my background.
and how your family got here and
Right. And also I had been talking with the Holocaust Museum about my family's memoirs.
What was it like to go back through his paperwork then and read those stories? And did you get a real sense of who he might have been and what he went through?
Oh, yes. My uncle, one of his sons, was a German interpreter both at Nuremberg and also for the State Department. So he translated my grandfather's memoirs from German. And I really have delved into my family. Since most of my family is not alive anymore, I've built a whole new relationship with them and really have grown to have more of an appreciation and understanding. It was also too hard to talk about growing up.
It was still too fresh.
It was too fresh, yes.
Yeah. And then have you delved into this kinds of issues with your art before too, or is this the
Yes,
first time
I have.
for you? Yeah.
I have. And I think the first time that I really began to deal with it was in writing the play Suicide Run, which is a one-act play about an elderly woman, a Holocaust survivor, and an encounter with a troubled young teenager late one night in Philadelphia in sort of the train station, the elevated trains in Philadelphia. And then as I started to get more deeply into visual art, I found that I was, without knowing it, beginning to deal with memories of a childhood. I was born right at the very end of the war, and it was memories about what wasn't said, in a sense, or the whispers.
You're nodding like this is a common shared experience here.
Yes.
Yeah. The things the family, when you ask certain questions, they wouldn't give you certain answers.
Well, you didn't even know to ask those questions. And it was also a topic not dealt with in schools either.
Right.
Not until much later.
Yeah.
So it kind of just regurgitates and comes back to you as you are growing up and you're facing other things. The death of my father sort of stimulated some other reasons for me to kind of look back and to just stimulate some way of processing through a creative perspective.
Right. And this is a way then you get to share those experiences you couldn't talk about as kids with people who may not be exposed to them and may not know the full history now, right?
Right, and that's really what we are trying to do at the museum, is to educate people about how intolerance starts with bullying and how we really have to guard against that and protect the rights of everyone. So the new board members, such as myself, we've come on board with a mission to really bring our message out into the community and to bring the community back into the museum.
And that means more art shows and more shows, and like the event on Sunday at 2 at B'nai Israel too, right?
Yes.
Right.
But I'd also like to add that what makes our Holocaust Museum perhaps very unique in a way is that it doesn't just speak about the Jewish Holocaust. There was just the 100th anniversary of their Armenian Holocaust, which really, unfortunately, set the wheels into motion for Hitler.
Right.
And 1.5 million people perished there, and of course there was a tremendous amount of death with the Tutsis and the Hutus. So unfortunately,
it's intolerance across the globe.
Across the board.
There's the exhibit there on Rwanda, and through our new way of presenting new exhibits periodically throughout the year, we will be tapping into other stories that need to be told.
Oh, very cool. Well, check out the Holocaust Museum and Holocaust and Intolerance Museum.
Yes.
It's near 6th and Central.
Between 6
it's right
and
next
7.
to the launch pad.
Right, which is one of my favorite places. And we'll see you in a couple of seconds on the Morning Brew with Friends.